Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Jai Shri Ram. Welcome to our next episode in our complete reading of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. In the previous episode, we saw how Ravana gave responsibilities to his own army to guard the gates of Lanka. He himself says he would be guarding the northern gate of Lanka along with Sukha and Sarana. Then he gives the eastern gate to Prahasta. He gets his best generals, Indrajit and others, guarding the other gates. And he also keeps a big chunk of the army in the middle. So Ravanasura does all this, and now he is happy that his city is now relatively safe. Now, on the other side, Sri Ramachandra, after looking at this impregnable fortress of Lanka, Sri Ramachandra quickly calls for a meeting of his corps commanders or his corps leaders. Here, Vibhishana quickly comes and says, "O Sri Ramachandra, my 4 ministers, Anala, Panasa, Sampati, and Pramati, they have gone and they have checked the security arrangements made by Ravana. Ravana has already declared the saviors or the protectors for all the 4 entrances into Lanka. So the eastern Dwara or the eastern gate is being guarded by Prahasta, Mahaparsva and Mahodara. They are guarding the southern Dwara, and then Indrajit himself, he is guarding the western Dwara, and Ravana himself is guarding the northern Dwara, and Virupaksha is guarding the central forces who are in the center of all this. I got information that in every of these places, at least 10,000 elephants, 10,000 charioteers, 2,000 horse riders, and more than 1 crore foot soldiers. These are guarding every place. So please be very, very careful. There might be at least 10 lakh parivara who would be guarding these Rakshasas. So please be very, very careful." Then immediately Sri Ramachandra says, "Okay, this is very nice." Vibhishana says, "Don't think that I am actually praising your enemy in front of you." But Sri Ramachandra says, "No, that's not the case." Then he quickly says, "Okay, now we'll have equivalent things. So to combat Prahasta on the eastern Dwara, we will have Neela. To combat the Mahodara Mahaparsvas on the southern Dwara, we will have Angada. Since Indrajit is taking care of the western Dwara, Swami Hanuman himself will be taking a huge Vanara army and he would be doing the attack on the western Dwara, and I myself will lead the army which will go and face Ravana at the northern Dwara. I and Lakshmana will be there who will be fighting at the northern Dwara. Sugriva, Jambavanta, Vibhishana, all these people will be the central forces for us." And then he says, all these Vanaras, they were all Kamarupis, right? So they could take the form of humans. So Sri Ramachandra quickly says, "Nobody can take the form of a human. Only me, my brother Lakshmana, Vibhishana, and the 4 ministers of Vibhishana, only we would be taking the form of a human and fighting. So there will be only 7 people in our entire army who will be fighting with a human form, and everybody else, they will be fighting in the form of a Vanara. That way we will be able to identify our army very well." Looking at this, we get an understanding that these Rakshasas were also mostly like humans. That's the reason why probably even Surpanaka was getting attracted towards Sri Ramachandra, right? So that's what Mahamahopadhyaya Pulala Sri Ramachandra Garu also feels in his Vyakhya, in his Balanandini Vyakhya, when he is giving that for that on Ramayana. He also talks about this particular thing, saying that the Rakshasas might be looking like humans. That's the reason why Sri Ramachandra explicitly ordered that none of the Vanaras should take a human form. And from there, to look at Lanka, to have a closer look at the enemy, Sri Ramachandra, along with his most important Vanaras, climbs the Suvela mountain, which is nearby. The Suvela mountain is a huge mountain. Hanuman, Angada, Neela, Mainda, Dvivida, Gaja, Gavaksha, Gavaya, Sharabha, Gandhamadana, Panasa, Kumuda, Hara, Rambha, Jambavanta, Sushena, Rushabha, Durmukha, Shatabali. Like this, hundreds of Vanaras followed Sri Ramachandra, and even Lakshmana. Lakshmana actually draws out an arrow and is extremely ready. He also goes in the first. Sri Ramachandra is going. Behind him is Lakshmana. Behind him is Sugriva. Behind him is Sugriva's ministers, and then Vibhishana. and then all these Vanaras, they also started moving towards the mountain. So they all get onto the mountain and they saw this Lanka. They saw the army that is guarding Lanka from a height. How big is Lanka? Where is Lanka? That's another question, right? This Lanka, it's on the top of a mountain called Chitrakuta. And this Chitrakuta is a mountain, and on the mountain top, you have a city which is 10 yojanas wide and 20 yojanas long. So that's Lanka, that's on the top of that mountain. And here there's a beautiful description of how Lanka looks, the amount of buildings in Lanka, how huge it is, how it looks when someone sees it from a distance. All that is very well described. The various types of trees like Ashoka, Punnaga, every tree that you can think of, all those trees are there in Lanka. The huge army, how the huge army gives us a false impression that that's another city waiting for an attack. So all this are very well described, and Sri Ramachandra, Lakshmana, all the important Vanara Veeras, they all look at the city, and each of them now is devising their own plans as to how they would either attack the city or how they would guard themselves in case there is an attack that's coming from the city. They also look at the Rakshasas. They're also looking at the sort of arrows and bows that they're carrying. They're also looking at the wonderful place that Lanka is, the beautiful Udyanavanas that they have, or the beautiful gardens that they have. All this is seen by Vanaras, and everybody is getting prepared for the huge war that is going to come. And Sri Ramachandra there, he stays there for one Muhurta Kala, which is like 24 minutes. He looks at all the 10 directions. Like, see, there are 4 primary directions: north, east, west, and south. Then you have northeast, northwest, and then southeast and southwest. That makes it 8. Then one on the top and one at the bottom. So all the 10 directions Sri Ramachandra looks, and then he looks at Lanka, and then he realizes that it's not a normal city. Sri Ramachandra now actually sees Ravana, who is sitting on a Gopuragra. He's sitting on a huge elevated platform sort of a thing there. He also sees that 2 women are actually using the hand fans to give him air. That's called Vinjamara, huge one actually. And then on his head there is a beautiful Vijaya Chhatra, or the umbrella that they keep on the king's head. And then the dhoti that he was wearing, it was having some golden decorations on it. And we saw this in Sundarakanda, right? Airavata Vishana Grehi. On his chest there were the signs of his fight with Airavata. Okay, and he was wearing a red color dress, and so he was looking like a combination of clouds. Sri Ramachandra was looking at Ravana. Along with Sri Ramachandra, somebody else was looking at Ravana, and he's going to act now. Who is he? What is he going to do? All that we'll be seeing in a next episode. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pasyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet, sarvam stuti sai smara swam charanarvindarpanamastu. Swasti. Jai Shri Ram.